Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I'm sure anyone who's ever read one of Neil Gaiman's books would agree. He has a way with words. He definitely has a unique style. Most recently, the other one I read of his was American Gods, and Norse Mythology is definitely no exception. Basically what this book is a collection of short stories surrounding the Norse gods, which are probably most famously associated with the Avengers and obviously Thor and a collection of his movies. And obviously that isn't what this book is entitled to be, is a Avengers type of book, but I couldn't help but imagine that they go along with those. All the characters seem to fit in that universe, which I'm sure wasn't intentional, but Neil Gaiman does a very good job of writing them. I like how it has that classic mythology feel, kind of like the Greek mythology is. Everything's very ridiculous. Characters are changing into different animals, birds, horses, and so on. Very exaggerated qualities. And all in all, very good, well-written stories. Most of the stories seem to surround Loki and Thor. I like how Neil Gaiman described the Loki character as just being just a big royal pain in the rear, to the point to where anytime anything goes wrong, Thor automatically, as a rule, assumes it's Loki just to save time. It's 9 times out of 10, it's him. Of the stories that are in this book, I'd have to say my personal favorite is the one dealing with Thor'S Hammer, and specifically why it is the way it is, right down to the length and the reasons for that. He writes Thor as kind of a big dumb animal, always falling into Loki's tricks, which I'd have to say kind of goes along with the Avengers movies. And again, that's not what he was writing, was a sequel to any of those. I guess it must be because Marvel has done such a good job marketing their movies that anytime you hear the names Thor and Loki, I automatically think Avengers, even though they're involved in Norse mythology. Neil Gaiman really does a good job of exploring the different worlds associated with that, describing the different types of interactions they may have with the Frost Giants, also featured in the movie Thor, as well as a few other conflicts. Don't really want to say too much because I don't want to give away anything and spoil any of the plot for readers. I guess if I had one complaint about the book, I'd say I wish it was all one continuous story and not a collection of short stories. Maybe a little bit deeper plot. It felt like each story was, okay, Loki got us into a mess, how do we get out of it, kind of a thing. If Neil Gaiman had done a one continuous novel, I think it would have been much better. Just because he doesn't have a whole lot of time to develop the characters and doesn't have any time for a complicated plot, which stinks because that is something that Neil Gaiman is very good at. Overall, though, I'd say that it was a good quick read. Would recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the Marvel movies. But again, that's just what I think of whenever I hear the mention of the characters. Could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, depending on your viewpoint. I personally didn't mind, but also I couldn't think of a better author to have tackled Norse mythology. Neil Gaiman has done similar work with his book American Gods, which came out a few years ago, so I feel like he's practiced up and the perfect guy for this book. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Talk to you soon.